Hi guys, back with another episode of the Schbang In It Podcast. Taking a little different turn on this episode. We're looking at a little bit different industry than what we look at normally. My guest today is someone who is entering a really old industry but approaching it in a really new way. By that I mean he's bringing a revolutionization in his own millennial format to a brand like samosas, which all of us have grown up eating at a chai ki tapri. But Arjun Melwani believes that he can do it in a little different way and he can bring a spin to this originally loved dish with his company OG Samosas. Arjun happens to be a very dear friend. Thank you so much for joining me, Arjun.
Thank you for having me. Any opportunity to talk about OG is always great for us.
Great. So Arjun, like I was saying in the intro, you've taken a very different turn and you've gotten into an industry that most people would assume is like samosas are looked at as a very like a 5-10 rupee ka cheese. Like no one thinks of it as something that you want to make a business empire about. I want to dive into that story, but before I come to that, obviously to give the users context, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your background? Obviously, don't go back to your school ki story because obviously we know. But tell me a little bit about your career and what's brought you to this point.
So, as you know, I started off my career in finance. I worked at Quantum Mutual Fund on the fundraising side.
Okay.
So, this entailed a lot of going out to different offices, meeting people, going to raise money from them. And this always entailed going to the meeting, walking in and saying, hey, chai piga, samosa khayega. What we realized about the industry was that the chai was completely dominated by Cafe Coffee Day. I'm sure you guys too in your office have one CCD machine at least in one corner. The samosas, on the other hand, everyone had a local guy downstairs, which quality, price, everything was completely different. There was no standardized version of it. And we realized that the Indian market, the young market, as you know, we have the largest youth population in the world, we love a branded product. We love innovation. We love this whole new fusion concept. And that's what sort of brought the idea about to try being the standardized corporate samosa for India.
The standardized corporate samosa for India, that's a very interesting
What Cafe Coffee Day is calling in the tea space is what we would love to do in the samosa space.
Interesting. But let me, before we go into OG, you were doing fundraising for a mutual fund. From fundraising of a mutual fund, I'm sure, like from whatever I've been led to believe, and obviously since I've known you my full life, I know that paid well. What made you want to make that switch from a secure job, that too where you're in a company that like you were well versed with the management and was 4 minutes from your house? Why would you want to leave that safety net? Because a lot of people, right, a lot of young people out there who are potential entrepreneurs are wondering, and a lot of people don't fire that shot because they're like, what's going on is going well, why fuck with it? So what made you take that decision?
So, I feel like there's a couple of factors actually. The first thing is, when you're working in such a large company, you're motivated as far as you are motivated to go. There's no pressure on your head always making you be better than you were yesterday, trying to drive you forward to be like, hey, if I don't get this done, I will not get paid. I've never had that pressure on my head before. And it's actually a great feeling, great motivator to have that. Secondly, I feel like the lockdown changed a lot of things for a lot of people. My life, which was going out, meeting people, interacting with people, going and flattering them to raise funds from them, if I may say that, was a lot of fun. I love doing that. The lockdown changed to a lot of Zoom calls, video calls, Skype calls. And I feel like while doing that at home, wearing a shirt on top and your boxers at the bottom is not a very motivating place to be. My interest in doing things sort of diminished day by day. And I needed something to keep me motivated, something to get me out of bed in the morning, something to say, hey, I need to do something for me this time. Also, I feel like I come from a family where we all have this entrepreneurial spirit, whether it's my grandfather, whether it's my dad, whether it's my mom, we all have our own little businesses that we run. And I see the joy that it brings to people. When you have something you call your own and you go out and you're motivated to run that, whether it's putting in the hours, whether it's putting the sweat, blood and tears, there's something very motivating and fulfilling about it, if I may say so.
Okay, so having known you and know you that to be a lazy ass fuck person, the fact that like that's something that's pushing you, so that's odd. But you're saying that gives you some sort of satisfaction that's unquantifiable.
The best way to put this into words is my whole life I've been an insomniac. For the first time, I'm having such hectic days. I'm using my brain, my energy, my everything so much during the day. I'm actually getting a good night's sleep. And for me, I feel like that is the most important thing.
Tell me, and obviously if you're not comfortable talking about this, we don't have to, but are you at the point where you're profitable?
this is a very hard business. So, when I got into the business, I feel like I didn't completely understand everything that went into it. The initial bit was, hey, it's a samosa, it'll cost me 5 rupees to make, I'll sell it for 15 rupees, and that's that. Not taking into account, there's so many small costs that are added into the product, whether it's the packaging, whether it's the printing, whether it's the oil. Now, as you know, we are trying to be I wouldn't say high-end samosa brand, but a more hygienic samosa brand. We only work with rice bran oil instead of the regular palm oil.
Are there any benefits?
It's the least carcinogenic of the lot.
Okay, so all the other samosas are a little bit more cancerous.
I mean, don't quote me on that.
You don't want to make these claims, but okay.
Rice bran oil is known to be the least.
How much more expensive is it?
It's nearly double the price of regular oil. So there are these small factors, whether we're trying to be, yes, we want to be a bougie, high-end, hygienic, new age samosa brand, which entails nicer flavors, nicer packaging, better oils, nicer uniforms for the staff, nicer locations, and all of this comes with an added cost. And running all of this and trying to get everything perfect was a very time-consuming and sort of uphill battle that we're still
Wait, before
fighting.
we go deeper, I want to ask you this for someone who's trying to start. So you're saying that you're burning and not paying yourself. So assuming that I am a business owner or I'm someone who works in a company who's earning a decent salary, who has like expenses plus investment and saving covered, how much time do you think or would you recommend, or in your experience has it been before you're about to start paying yourself now? How long has it been since your company started?
It's been about a year since we started.
So for 1 year you've not paid yourself anything?
I haven't paid myself. It's a weird place to be because you're paying rentals at places, you're paying salaries to a team of 12 people, you're going out and making sure your vendors are paid, everything is done. You are the last preference in the company, but for you, you're playing the long game over here. You're not trying to make a quick buck over a salary over 5-10 years. You're trying to build a company, build a brand, build a legacy that should hopefully last generations.
Sure, but isn't it hard? Like, so you put, I mean, okay, let's say that today you're fortunate that you've put some money aside, but so you would say that a year is a good amount of time for someone who wants to start a food-based business before they can assume that they can draw money for themselves?
Let me put it this way. The first thing is how passionate you are about what you're doing. Because for a lot of people, including I went off on this trajectory at some point, whereas, all of my friends, people like you, people like all of our crew, are a place where they're actually starting to make real income now. They have more disposable income, they're making more money, they have a lot more spending power. There was a lot of things that I had to say no to that I couldn't particularly afford to do.
Yeah.
But I was happy waking up doing what I had to do. It was keeping me occupied, it was keeping me motivated, it was keeping me happy. So the only way you can pull off something or take that step back from your life is if you're motivated enough to want to build something. Also, I feel like once you have a team of people reliant on you for their jobs, for their salaries, for their day-to-day tasks, you have to be there and you have to show up every day, whether you want to or not.
Okay. Why samosa? Because is that the thing that because you saw is the corporate element the only element?
Okay, let me ask you something. If you were to assume, how many samosas do you think are consumed in India every day?
Some obscene amount, man. I don't know. Like there are 1.8 billion people. Let's say I fucking don't know. 500 million? I don't know.
It's about 6.5 crore samosas.
6.5 crore samosas. That's how much? 60 million for samosas.
Every single day.
Every
single day in the country.
So that's annually some billion samosas.
It's a product that everybody understands, needs no introduction, has its roots actually. People say, oh, samosa, so traditionally Indian. It actually has its roots in Central Asia. It's called Samsa after the pyramids in Central Asia, in Egypt.
Okay.
And came to India as the food of the kings, as the rulers, as the food of the Mughals. And this slowly passed on to an everyday item.
Elitist fuck, that's why you got it, na? Because you were like food of the rulers.
So I'll tell you something. We did a royal wedding in the Middle East a couple of months ago. It was such a respect because people look at it as, oh, sambusa, oh, the food of royalty.
Oh,
and the way it's treated in another country versus India. And I don't know if I should be saying this, but there's a lot of people in India, very wealthy people, huge companies, probably spending thousands and thousands of rupees on their food. When they look at a samosa, they're like, hey, we can't pay 20 rupees for this, and they'll bargain for that. And that's just the perception that we versus foreigners have about samosas.
Talking a little bit about the company before we go into the product and the market and all. you've taken a different route than most people would take for a food startup like this, right? Most people would, I would guess, bootstrap it and run it like profit to profit, but you've raised money. You've looked at this from a VC funding. So you want to talk about a little bit about first why you did that and a little bit about your VCs and your structure.
So two things with the VCs that made a lot of sense to me. The first thing, I worked in the finance space.
Right.
I know what these guys want to hear. I know how I need to deliver to keep them happy. Secondly, like we were saying, it's a large burn in the business.
Right.
It's a lot harder to sustain by yourself versus when you have outside help. That added, having someone who believes in you, that having those resources behind you saying, hey, we understand your product, we believe in what you're doing, helps you go a very long way in terms of your day-to-day motivation. The other thing is, as you know, one of our investors is the pioneer behind Subway India.
Right, Pramod, right?
His name's Chetan Arora.
Chetan Arora.
He's the pioneer behind Subway India, opened 250 stores over here, brought them into India, literally graduated from college in Boston, wrote to every fast food brand, and built a company like Subway, built a brand like Subway in India. Having someone like him on board gives us a lot of help in terms of someone who's experienced in the business, how to run our QC, how to run our distribution, how to build a business, how to build a franchising model, which are all things that could take us onto the path of profitability and actually building a real brand over a
Interesting
period of time.
Tell me, how does it work with the VCs? Is it all money in and equity, or is there a bit of advisory? What's the situation?
So we've taken the whole thing as equity based.
Okay.
But they do work as my biggest mentors and my biggest support system. I know if it's 2 a.m. and I may have messed up an order, I can pick up the phone and I can call them and say, hey, this is what's going on. How do we get out of this? And I know I'm not going to get a lecture from them. I know we're going to find a solution for it.
Okay, but no, my point is that so today they own equity in the company and they are. Do they hold a role? Are they
Not a formal role,
okay.
Just they're on my board.
Okay, understood. And when you raise a round, is there like a plan or an exit path for them?
I mean, they're doing it because they believe in the business and they believe that they do have an exit. Of course, they have no emotional attachment to samosas. They're trying to make a multiple on their investment. But also, I feel like once you get more involved in the business and you build on it and you build your relationship with them, there's a very strong chance that the investor would say, hey, you're putting in another round, let me fund it for you rather than going out and getting more capital. And that is the dream with most investors.
Interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the product, right? So today, OG Samosas, for those people who don't know, you want to just tell us what are the kind of flavors and your category offering?
So let me begin with the name, OG Samosa. People always wonder, what the hell does OG mean? So for people the younger generation, the millennials, it's the original gangster. For people of my generation, it just means original. For my staff and the people working for us, they related to the song OG Logi. But the thing is, it means something to everyone. It's a very easy name for everybody to pronounce. And I found it catchy enough to make it sort of go out and have that brand recall. The other thing we decided about is, hey, we're trying to be modern, we're trying to be bougie, if I can say that. So we started saying, hey, let's do more products, let's do more varieties. So we started doing the aloo matar and the cheese samosas. Now we've branched into mac and cheese and the truffle edamame samosa. We're doing Jain options like a jalapeno and ricotta. We're doing gluten-free options with the patties. We have vegan options where we don't use ghee and we use dalda instead. We're doing fried and air-fried options. So it's a product everyone can relate to. We are still trying
my favorite one. You're doing chocolate samosas, which
chocolate
are
samosa,
wild.
of course. But the chocolate samosa, the thing is, when I tell people I'm doing a chocolate samosa, they look at me like, yuck. How can you even offer me this?
I looked at you like, yuck, what is wrong with you? But after I had it, it's like a churro with like mad amount of chocolate, and you dop some vanilla ice cream on top and you got yourself
so
a
that's
date,
what we realized.
dude.
Today, if you're buying a samosa from me, I will always give you a sampler of the weird products. The chocolate samosa or the apple crumble samosa. Just so that you are motivated to try it. Because what we've realized is, say we're coming to a new outlet. Our first few days of sampling. And when we're holding out the sampling trays, the chocolate will be the first to be over. When it comes to a selling day, my chocolate inventory will be full at the end of the day.
Weird. So I'm the one who's keeping that flavor afloat.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, my main reason was still.
But like, okay, many more questions I have, but let me just go into the first part. Your competition is what? Samosa Singh, and there's one more, right?
I mean, I would love for them to be my
what I mean is like the
competition.
big.
They've raised $20 and $30 million.
No. What I mean is like the big brands in the samosa space are like Samosa Singh, which is a new age brand, and then there are the old school ballers like Guru Kripa. And there's even that Dave Samosas, right? At Babulnath. I mean, maybe that's just a Bombay thing, but I'm sure right now you're in Bombay?
We're just Bombay. Right
just
now.
Bombay.
We're doing a bit of business in the Middle East and the UK, but those
India?
are on export consignments.
What about India? You're not looking at branching India now?
Honestly, I would love to, but the idea is to manage to figure out Bombay first before expanding. It's a lot of small items that go like.
So today, hypothetically, you're a frozen samosa, right? Like you can send me product. You have 2-3 elements to your business.
So we build all our products in house. We blast freeze them. From here, we can sell them fried, frozen, or air fried, depending on what the requirement is.
And shelf life of the frozen one in the fridges?
It's actually by our food scientists and the testing by Equinox Labs. We have 8-month shelf life on them with no preservatives, but we don't keep anything beyond 5 months.
So then you can take orders in Delhi, Bangalore also if people order from you. Like, but how? Okay, that's your
in
Instagram's
this business,
problem.
very honestly, the hard bit is the frozen supply chain in India. It's not very developed and it's very expensive to run.
Okay.
So while we can supply to these places, the cost of the logistics and the delivery and everything goes to a lot higher than people would want to pay as of today.
Got it. So sorry, coming back to my thing. Samosa Singh is a big name and these guys are there. What are they doing that, like what stops them from, aren't you worried whether they'll just enter into your market?
They definitely could. I may sound a bit cocky saying this, but I believe I have a far better product than them.
Okay, interesting. That's important. I mean, as long as you believe in your product. Now talk a little bit about the models, right? So you have a central kitchen from which there are orders. You can be ordered on Swiggy, I believe. Swiggy, Zomato, both?
Correct.
And you also do direct party orders where people can reach out to you on your Instagram and WhatsApp and stuff like that.
So, being a young brand, anything we are given, anything with the potential to do, we are going to do. Whether it's building events, whether it's corporate events, whether it's opening QSR at corporate parks, like we have one at Nesco at Goregaon.
Okay.
We've taken over building cafeterias. We're working with builders to run their sales office catering. So any opportunities that come our way right now, it's all. So this is the conversation my investors actually had with me a couple of days ago. He said, are you trying to supply frozen samosas? Because we're doing these contracts with a couple of clubs and a couple of restaurants. Are we trying to be a QSR brand like we're doing at Nesco Goregaon?
Right.
Are we trying to take over building cafeterias like we're doing with the Hubdown builders? And basically what I told them was, hey, we're just trying to get cash flow positive right now. We're just trying to pay our salaries, grow our cash flow, and then find what's working for us. But being a young brand, you have to make room to pivot. You have to make room to say, this is working, this is not working, but this is giving me business now. Does it make sense to fulfill these orders so I can pay my salaries at the end of the month?
Got it. And why would you, again, I mean, my logic is why would you shut down any business tributary right now? It could be, you can have multiple sources of income. You could, like you said, those 4 things that you use, whether it's buildings, whether it's like a QSR, whether it's just direct deliveries, you have a revenue source. Do you have a breakdown of like the percentages of each of these 4 that you mentioned, which is the most profitable for you?
So the most profitable of the lot would be the OEM, which is making samosas in-house and supplying other brands, other companies, clubs,
like catering essentially.
Supplying the caterers though.
Okay.
Because I don't have a labor cost, I don't have a logistics cost, and I don't have a labor cost at the last mile product.
Right.
I don't have the last mile delivery cost. And like I said, the oil cost with the rice bran oil is quite high. My responsibility ends when the samosa is made in my kitchen and the guy comes and collects it.
Does it impact that when you're making it the first time before you blast freeze it, that you're using rice bran oil and then they might use some other oil?
No, not at all.
Doesn't matter?
Not
Okay.
at all.
So you don't care someone else is giving carcinogenic shit?
They're not under my brand name. It's their problem.
Does it, okay, now like break it down for me, like from an investor point of view also, won't users or like your investor think that all these avenues means I have to employ people whose salaries I have to pay, plus I have to have them transported from here to there with my shit in certain cases where you're running the kitchen. How expensive is that?
This industry is not very high paying at the beginning rungs, whether it's
what are you paying someone, like if you don't mind talking about it?
So your area managers, your brand managers will make in that 40,000-50,000 rupees a month. Your QSR managers, which are per outlet, make about 25.
Okay.
And your kitchen staff, your basic staff, make in the 18 to 20s.
Okay.
So,
is there a minimum wage thing in India? Is there a rule that you have to? I mean, you know this for your business, I guess.
you know, the minimum wage in India is obscenely low.
How much
I'm
is
not sure the exact number is, but if I understand correctly, it's under about 6,000 rupees a month or 7,000 rupees a month. I could be mistaken on the
So why are you
exact
paying so much
number.
more?
You know, when you find great people who are motivated to do what they do, like we've had days when we just started the business where we'd go to events, we'd go to these large flea market type situations and set up counters, and nobody knew who the hell we are. We'd go and say, hey, please try our products, please buy from us, we're OG, introduce ourselves. And it came points in the day at the end of the day where I got demotivated and I was like, why are we wasting our time here? Let's back up, let's go to the next one. And the same staff who've been with me since the beginning would be there with big smiles on their faces saying, क्यों? एक और बार try करते हैं, एक और घंटा है. Let's try getting more sales in this last 1 hour that we have.
Sick.
And that motivated and changed the way I thought about a lot of things in terms of we're here, we're set up, we can do even 1,000 rupees more in the day, why the hell shouldn't we?
Interesting. And now all these events and all that you go for, you pay for?
So as a rule, we've decided we don't pay for events anymore. We've done both kinds of events. A lot of the kinds are where they say, come, take a stall, pay 20,000 rupees. We're doing samosas. Our price point is 20 to 30 rupees. We're not going to make a margin doing an event with 50 other brands over there at this price point.
But don't you have to be there sometimes from like a branding point of view? Like Little Flea, don't you have to be there?
It is a good thing to be from a branding point of view. But for us, we're working with so many brands, like we have these investors as well who have the right connects, who are getting us a lot better deals in terms of going to places where we get a lot more footfall, paying no money. And we've realized that there's two sides to the markets. There's the big guys who will say, pay me 20,000 to come here, do this, or cater this event, bargain with you, take months to make payments. And you have the little guys who are like, please come here. We're doing an office event. We'll pay you 5,000 rupees setup cost. We're happy to have you here. We'll tell our friends and family about you. Your payments come the next day. And we love working with these kind of people. It's an absolute pleasure to...
Do you have a number of how many samosas you've sold so far?
So we're doing about 1,500
No, the total
a
number.
day.
The total number of samosas you've sold so far.
You know, the
What do you
problem
mean?
with
But you
the
should have a big
business like
counter in
this
your office.
is firstly, when you have a product, let's say we do a batch of 100 today. I can tell you how many we've made. But say we've done a batch of 100 today. There is 1, 2 that'll be damaged in the lot. There is a certain amount of pilferage in this industry that you can't control.
What percentage is that?
We have it quite luckily below 5 to 6%.
So on 100 samosas, 5 to 6 samosas get spoiled.
But the industry standard...
Spoiled or stolen? Question.
Stolen. I wouldn't want to say stolen
Achha,
because
they
I
eat
don't
them,
know where
they're hungry,
going.
bro, whatever.
It's pilferage.
But you're paying them
mean,
double, triple salary, they're still stealing from you.
But
Fucking
the
wrap
problem
them.
in this industry is the industry standard is 15%.
Okay.
The first thing my investor told
that's
me
solid.
is, hey, if your IPL is below 15%, don't look at it now. Not a problem, not a pressing issue to look at right now. Also, while we've come a long way in terms of the softwares we have available to us for inventory management, for billing, for sales, for all of these things, it is still very hard to track, especially when you have 12 to 15 SKUs. We're doing 20-gram cocktail samosas, 40-gram mid-size samosas, as well as the king-size 70-gram. Keeping a record of all of this, punching in the data, pulling out accurate data. At the end of the month, we'll say, hey, we should have 500 truffle edamame samosas left. And then you open the freezer, you physically count
You shouldn't count them one by one.
What choice do you have? How else do you have to verify that your inventory is actually
You're a samosa sorter.
Literally, I am the samosa sorter.
Oh, damn. Yeah, because it's literally your money that they're
So we have one day every week where we just sit and open all the freezers and count how many people there are. So the person from outlet 1 will go to outlet 2 to count the samosas.
I try to make sure that no one cheats and does
Because
all
I have my Pet Puja report at the end of the month saying
That's
this
the
is what
software you
your
use.
inventory should be.
So you're using a software that's called Pet Puja. How
Pet Puja.
cute.
It's
How
actually
cute.
most restaurants seem to be
So
using
cute,
them.
dude. Pet Puja.
They integrate with everything.
Are you completely digitally compliant? Like I know we talk about this lots, but like today, do you think of your brand as completely digitally there?
Absolutely not. As you know, I consider myself very technologically backward. I don't even know how to use LinkedIn. I mean, we've created the recruiter account. We're trying to hire from there. But there's so many more pressing things you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
But you're hiring from LinkedIn for your business, really?
we need area managers, we need competent people. I need someone to be in the office with me full time. I sit alone in this conference room in my parents' office right now with one big whiteboard with a to-do list of 500 things I need to do that I need to accomplish myself. It would be great to have another me who could run with these things. And I feel like hiring in India has become everybody I speak to about this, except for you guys who have 5,000, 6,000 people now.
No, Matt, we have 1,200 people, 1,100 people. It's hard, dude. It's very hard, but we do all right. We're a cool company that way.
Well, that's the aspiration, right? To be a cool company like Schbang, so we get the youth and the competent.
But do you feel like in the food space, you don't need to be cool? Like your branding needs to be cool, your product needs to be cool. You don't, like your company does not need to be cool. Like I'm talking about your culture.
To attract staff, right?
Is that true? Like from what I know, like I know a few people, like I mean obviously most of the people I know you know, but the few people we know in the food space, it's all about ragdaving, right? Like it's about efficiency, it's about output, it's about getting that like
you know, that is the traditional way to run this business, but also traditionally if you look at the retention rate in this business, it's very low. People will leave for 500 rupees, people leave for 1,000 rupees, and most people are dealing with in the industry, the people aren't very highly educated. Even if you have someone who's been training with you, you've trained, gotten to the point where you want to, has been with you for 2 years, and they get an offer for 500,000 rupees more, it's most likely they're going to leave you and bounce.
I'll ask you the other side. So I mean I know someone, okay I'm not going to try flexing, but like the Tiwari business, you know, the Laddu's huge business. One of the promoter guys was telling me, they pick up everyone from their gao. Like they pick up a full gao of people and just bring them to the different Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, etc. and make them work there. They don't pay them as well as you pay your people. They don't. I don't want to comment on how they treat them, but like I know that they have a very hard work day. But those guys have been there 20, 30, 40 years. So it's a question. I'm not saying it's my opinion, and like it's admirable that you're trying to like build a business that's based on like equality and treating everyone well and all of that. But in a country like India, from a profitability standpoint, strictly because you have raised money, and I'm not saying that there is actually a target, but theoretically there is a number on your back that you have to deliver.
Of course.
Don't you think that at this point you need to be a little bit more like cutthroat and ruthless?
You know, it's actually a great way to put it, but I feel like the culture we're trying to develop over here is trying to break away from the traditional way that people are doing it over here. We're trying to create a workplace where people want to come in, want to be there. Like, the best or the worst advice I've ever received when we got into this was by a very close friend of mine who runs multiple of these brands through his VC fund. And he said, what you need is an ex-army, ex-police guy. Someone these guys are scared of. Someone who will not bring the real whatever's happening behind the scenes to you, but will speak their language in a much harsher way and do the things that you can't do. And I feel like that is, I would hate for that to happen on my staff. You don't inspire loyalty, you don't inspire respect. The only thing you inspire through that, in my opinion, is fear. And is that what we're trying to do here? Definitely.
So you believe that this culture of building is exportable, like it'll be scalable and exportable?
That is the goal. The goal is to have them telling their friends and their families and their villages, like you're saying, about there's better opportunities out there. There's more out there for you. There's access to all of this. We're trying to obviously include as much, whether it's education for, basic education for them, teaching them English, teaching them how to use things like Excel, teaching them how to be competent with the computer, which I feel like even if they don't live with me or stay with me the rest of their careers, will help them go a long way. And this was actually the culture we learned from Quantum Mutual Fund. Our founder, Ajit Dayal, always said, I'm looking for great people to create a great culture where people don't want to leave. People leave. When I was at Quantum, we had people walking in 15 and 20 years later, after quitting the company, going to 10, 15 places, gaining a lot more experience and coming back with open arms, saying, I've never found a place like this to work. And over the long term, we believe that this is the way forward.
Got it. From like your like the business, right? Like you've been saying the word bougie. You're looking at a little different elevated range. Is the samosa market in India, firstly that market of people who understand edamame truffle or who understand spinach, truffle and spinach and ricotta is small, right?
It is growing though, don't you feel like, as a country?
No, my question is not
especially
from
under
that.
this new government.
Dude, don't say. What a great, like, tell
The
me.
way we're progressing,
Amazing.
the way things are coming up, people
Amazing.
have more
Amazing.
disposable income.
Amazing. Modi hai to mumkin hai, bro. Modi hai to mumkin hai.
I'm not even gonna.
I'll say it one more time. Modi hai to mumkin hai. But okay, I'm not gonna make this political. Sorry. Sri Ram. I'm just
I don't know if
gonna
I
read
should
it.
mention this, but we're doing like
I
you're
said
talking.
that so that you would mention this.
Correct.
Because my producer said, don't bring this conversation up. Bring it up organically. Huh.
So, as you know, we have the much anticipated Ram Mandir opening next
Correct.
week.
22nd,
have
Monday.
these-
What next week, bro? Monday.
Next week we're
Haan,
still on
Saturday.
the previous
Correct,
week.
correct,
right?
correct.
We have these large building societies, these large families calling us and saying, hey, we're doing Ram Mandir simulations. So what the hell
What's
does
a
that mean?
simulation?
They're taking over, if they have the space at home, if they have the space in their buildings, taking over these multi-purpose rooms, putting up projectors over there, and live streaming the opening of the Ram Mandir.
Why?
They bought their own idols that they're copying or reenacting the pujas and the acting over there. On a Monday afternoon, we have groups of 200 and 300 people that have RSVP to come and do this. And you see something like this happening, and they call you saying, hey, we want 10 samosas a person.
Oh, mad.
I love Modi's India.
Yeah,
dude. What
dude.
more can I say?
Lovely, bro. That's what I'm talking about.
What
Good.
more can I say? Literally.
good.
It's good for business, it's good for.
Yeah, but that's another huge thing you have going for you, right? Any festival that's going on, sorry, there's some work going on. If any of you users hear a tuk tuk, there's some weirdo outside. But there is all the festivals you get orders for, right? Like it's just samosas just go when you want a lot of people gathering.
Correct. And also, it's a reasonable product when you're feeding a room of 1,000 people.
Can I ask a little controversial question? That
course.
religion-wise, is there a breakdown? Do you have a thing that more Hindus or more?
We see customers, we see
I'm not
mouths to
saying that way,
feed.
like I'm
We
talking
don't
about-
see names, we don't see gender, we don't see.
I don't mean from that discriminating. I'm talking about a pure business impact point of view. That like festival-wise, do you get a lot of orders during Eid?
Honestly, we got a call last Eid saying, can we do bori samosas? Can
Mutton.
we do mutton samosas?
You don't do non-vegetarian right
We're
now.
a pure vegetarian kitchen right now.
Ironic, na? You, Arjun Melwani.
Purposely put me in that spot, I can say.
Yeah. Well, I said these little traps, but it's fun.
No, but the goal is to break into, once we have the space and we can segregate the vegetarian and the non-vegetarian. As you know, I am a hardcore non-vegetarian. I would love to get into the butter chicken samosas and the mutton samosas and experiment with everything we've done in the vegetarian
Yeah.
space with non-veg products as well.
For sure, I'm sure that'll do well as well. And do you have like peak seasons of like, okay, now I mean it's been a year, so I mean it's too early to tell.
No, what we've noticed though is, and what our learnings from other brands and by research is, you have this certain boom that comes out in India from October to February, March. This happens when the weather is good outside, it gets a little bit cooler, outdoor events happen, wedding season happens. People just have more income to spend somehow. By the time summer comes around, people are either leaving the country or don't want to be outdoors or don't want hot products. So we actually shared a stall at Nesco. Our first outlet was Nesco Corporate Park. And being a new brand trying to bootstrap, we took 180 square feet and we split it between two brands. One ice cream brand and us, OG Samosa. What we realized is once the summer months came around, the ice cream sales were booming. And we were sitting there waiting for our time. Monsoon came around, our samosa stalls started booming.
Climatic leads to that.
November came around and everyone in there was doing great business.
Interesting.
So it is quite seasonal.
Interesting. Say how many samosas you made from start till now?
Oh fuck, you actually want to
Yeah, I
know?
want this
I
number,
just
of
said
course.
that. I have no clue.
No, bro. What do you mean? Approximate. 10
So
lakhs?
we have the ability to make about 800 to 1,000 a day.
That's 3,65,000
We've been in
rupees a
business
year.
about a year,
So 365 plus you must have done tests. So 5 lakhs issue made.
essentially.
And what's your favorite flavor from what you offer?
The truffle edamame.
Such a spoiled guy you are, Arjun. Samosa wala, you should say aloo
But also
butter.
the aloo cheese.
Ah, shut
I'll be
up. Now you're
honest.
saying all this. Sick. I think that was a good episode. I think more interestingly for people, they got an understanding of this price and all of this. And we'll make sure that we tag OG Samosa in the
Please do.
mentions. And
And anyone who would like some samosas, please call us. We do live counters, we do fried, we do air fried, we do gluten free. we do vegan, we do Jain. Just look up OG Samosa.
Sick. So I hope someone gets some interesting thoughts from this, and we'll definitely share their details in the comment. So that was another episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Your pleasure as always.
Hopefully next time you have us, we'll be a much, much larger brand. And
Fingers crossed.